Alright, let's graph log base 3x. In order to do that, you first want to think what x values are going to be out of the domain. So what you should know with a log, any base, that you will not have a negative or zeros in here, so no matter what, x's won't be negatives or zeros. That's always a good thing to realize from the beginning. Now, but with logs, it's sometimes better, instead of plugging in x values, it actually could be better to plug in your y values or your f of x values and find your x. And kind of here's why. If I take this and replace that with y, and I'm going to flip-flop. So I'm going to take this right here, replace that with y, and I'm going to write it in backwards. And here's what I mean by that. You'll see it. I'm going to put log base 3x equals y. And then I'm going to change this. Again, this is the same as this. I'm going to change this into exponent notation. So to do that, I drop the log and I switch these two. So I get 3 to the y power equals x. So this is what we're technically doing. Alright, so when we plug in values, do you see I go 3 to the y power equals x. So aren't I really looking for wanting to plug in y values and that will give me my x values? So that's why a lot of people will choose to plug in their y, or f of x, kind of the same idea. So I'm going to plug in 0, 1, and 2 for my y values, for f of x. When I do that, watch what happens. That simply means using this right here, I'm going to plug in 0 for y. So I have 3 to the 0, which is 1. Alright. Then I have 3 to the first, which is 3. And then I have 3 to the second, which is 9. Alright, I'm doing pretty good here. So, I now have my table. Now the patterns to this table, you'll notice. If you do 0, 1, 2 every time, it's always going to be 1. You'll see that as you go. And then, since the base is 3, this is just going to be multiplied by 3 down. It's kind of like a backwards exponential growth. It's very, very similar to it. So, anyways, there's a certain pattern as you do more and more of these that you will see. Okay, now we want to plot these points. All right. Now, as you can see with my graph, I can I only have 5 spots here. Unless I change my increments, I'm not going to fit this one. So I'm just put the first 2 values. All right. So let's put them in. I'm going to put 1, 0, which is right there. And I'm going to put over 3 up 1 right there. Now you might struggle knowing what this graph looks like, but the first thing you need to remember is we cannot have x values that are negative or 0. So these are x values that are negative or 0. So this graph will never come over here. We'll never get past this y-axis. The y-axis is an asymptote. And so what this graph's going to look like is kind of like this. Okay, this right here is an asymptote. All right, and your graph kind of goes up next to it but never crosses. If you really think about this, this is an exponential decay graph on its side tilted 90 degrees clockwise. So if you kind of turned it sideways, you can kind of see exponential decay graph look. So this is how we graph logs of any base.